This is In the Moment. I am your host, Mohammed Ramadan, owner and founder of Ramadan and Associates, a Chicago-based law firm focusing on business and personal injury law. Listen in as we discuss everyday legal topics, a legal podcast made for everyday people, not just lawyers. What's up, everyone? This is In the Moment. I am your host, Mo Ramadan, and today we have a really great show. Today I want to, with Corona and everything going on, a lot of things have kind of been flipped upside down. And one of the most important things, the criminal defense world and our courts have been just kind of all over the place. So I decided to bring in Shady Yasin to discuss this. Shady is a partner at Abdallah Law. He's the head of the criminal division over there. Abdallah Law is one of the premier criminal defense firms in Chicago. They handle a ton of different cases. They've been awarded super lawyers and many other different awards. So I decided to bring Shady on so we can kind of discuss some of these issues and the effects of coronavirus on the criminal defense world. So Shady, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate being on with you.
Definitely. So we got a lot to talk about, but before we get into serious topics about the Constitution and all the criminal defense stuff going on, I thought we'd start with a pretty funny story that you always make fun of me for, but it's a very funny story. I'm going to let Shady tell the story, but I want to give the context. This was my first jury trial, and it happened to be an attempted murder jury trial. So I was third chair. I was actually doing a trial with Shady and his partner, Zaid Abdallah. So Shady's always great at telling this story. So go ahead and tell him the MJ fist pump story.
Hey, listen, it's one of my favorite stories ever, especially because we won. We'll just get that part out of the way. But it's attempt murder. You did some kick-ass cross-examination for your first trial especially. You were cool and ready to go. You were eager and excited to be a part of it. So that's all good and well. Now we're on a break. The jury's deliberating, so the trial's finished. Go outside, have your cigarette break or whatever. Within, 30, 40 minutes, we get the call. The jurors are ready to have a decision. Now, one side of this is Z thought we lost the trial because they came back. And I was already yelling at him about that. Like, hey, man, you better chill out. We're going to fight at this table in front of everyone. But we sit down. Everyone's composed. Nerves are always high when they're about to read the jury verdict. And whenever there's a case, a lot of times, especially on attempt murder, there's more than one count. So when the jury's going to read the verdict, they'll read count one. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. Then the next count, and so on and so on. So this being your first trial. We, the jury, here's count one. We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. And all of a sudden I look out the side of my face. What the hell was that? This guy does a full-fledged fist pump in open court for everybody to see and grunts.
And I remember the judge looked at me and you grabbed my arm and you just gave me that look.
I gave him a squeeze like, hey, man, there's more. We're not done yet. It's only one.
And you gave me the look that when your little kid is acting up in public and you just give him that death stare and basically say, shut up, you're going to get your ass whipped when you get home.
Hey, listen, because the one thing you never want to do is you can't just go ahead and celebrate too soon. Because they could easily come back and one of them be good and not. But, man, this guy just grunted with it, too.
Yeah, just to give you guys an image, it was the Jordan fist pump. When he hits a game winner, he does the little fist pump. That's kind of what I was doing until Shady grabbed my arm. So
Put that sucker down. Yeah. Put that down. Let's hear the rest of it.
But that was years ago, and we still laugh about it. And every time I see Shady, he reminds me of the Jordan fist pump story. Right. So I thought that would be a good way to start to laugh at myself. But, I haven't done criminal law in years now. It's been at least 3-4 years. Now, you guys are really heavy into the criminal law business. Like I said, you guys are one of the elite criminal defense firms in Chicago. So you guys have handled hundreds of cases, jury trials, bench trials, motions, won plenty of them, of course. So, Corona hit, and it really just kind of threw everything out of whack, including our court system. And in my opinion, Cook County's court system was already kind of a shit show to begin with.
Our favorite type of shit show, baby. You can't mess with our shit show. That's our baby.
Yes. And some of you guys, people like Shady, enjoy the shit show of it. But this just really threw everything kind of out of whack. So, kind of briefly discuss what's changed. I know you guys doing a lot of stuff through Zoom. So how are you guys handling bond hearings and hearings on, some of these cases? kind of what's changed and how are you guys handling court right now?
So you said it in the beginning. Cook County was already a shit show. You said it right out the front. So we were already adept to dealing with the shit show. Cook County, you have multiple courthouses. 26th Street is the big one. You have Bridgeview, Markham, Skokie, Maywood, Rolling Meadows. Each one has their own rules. You have the branch courts for when courts are at the preliminary hearing stage. So it's a shit show across more than just one courthouse within Cook County. Each one has their own rules. So thankfully, because we're adept to dealing with it already, we had to be quick on our feet to how things are going because people were still getting arrested. Court was still going on. Nobody knew how it was going. Here comes Zoom, 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 right? And Zoom court comes around. People are wondering, COVID hits. Are we allowed in the building? Are we not? I still remember that first day. It was like mid-March when it happened. Everybody was like tiptoeing in the building. Are we supposed to be here? Are we not supposed to be here? Are we going to die just by standing in here looking at each other? It's like yesterday we were all here. And today everyone's spooked. It's like, what do we do now? Well, then next thing you know, hey, we're closing this sucker down.
Wow.
So everybody get the hell out.
Really?
Until further notice. And lawyers are up like, what the hell are we supposed to do? You got clients blowing up the office. Hey, when's my court? I got court. Hey, listen, man, you don't have court. Stay your ass at home. The world shut down, okay? Don't worry about it. You're good. We'll take care of it. It was just a lot of work for us at the office. We brought the office home for each other because, we really didn't want people to come in and violate social distancing, and everyone wanted to be safe. But at the same time, the show must go on, right? People were still getting arrested. Crime was still going on. So the way they did it in the beginning is, hey, courts for regular status dates, things like that, all of that stuff is out of the window. That stuff is getting an automatic continuance. Nobody's got to show up to court. But how are people supposed to know? If you don't have a lawyer, God bless you if you were able to figure it out. You're left calling a clerk's phone that nobody ever answers the phone. You got phone numbers. You don't have a website to check. Even for us, it was kind of crazy because we didn't even have online access to see our cases in Cook County until during the pandemic. It took a goddamn pandemic for us to have online access for criminal cases.
It's funny you say it because I was talking to another defense lawyer, and he's like, "Oh, you could go look it up online." I'm like, "Since when?"
Yeah, thank you, Corona. This one, it's a blessing. And a lot
to
of
show you
ways
how behind Cook County was, you couldn't even have online access. Every other county, DuPage, Will has it.
Man, even the smallest of counties across the state had it, bro.
Wow.
And so it was one blessing, and that was really what we saw real quick was we had to figure out, just like everything else, how do we adapt? And that's what it was. We had to figure out how to make the best of it, not just for us, but for our clients, obviously. And so enter Zoom court, right? You're calling, everyone's scrambling, and everyone. The nice part about it is everyone's being reasonable, right? So everyone knows that you're logging on through Zoom. Everyone knows that everyone's away from the building, type of thing. So you got a guy in a police station or in a basement somewhere in front of a computer with a mask under his chin, and pull your mask up, pull your mask down. So you talk to the camera. Man, what's going on? Why the hell am I here? Type of thing, right? And you barely get a chance to talk to the guy. We go to the police station to visit our clients. Hey, well, you can't come in here. Bullshit, I can come in here, and I'm going to talk to my guy. I'm talking about my client who was arrested, of course. So, you just have to be assertive and defending your client because the name of the game in criminal justice and the criminal defense system is fighting for your client's rights at every step, no matter what. So we didn't let Corona and COVID stop us from doing that. Obviously, you had to do it via Zoom. You log on, whether it's your phone or your computer, you're hopping on. We have our clients now accessing via Zoom. In the beginning, like I said, it was only for new cases, bond hearings, and things like that. And, it's something different when you're able to present yourself in person. You get a vibe for the room. That's kind of taken away from you when you're doing everything on Zoom, right? You don't have that personal feel. You don't get to really test the room the way you would if you're physically there.
There's intuition that people,
right.
Someone like Shady, who's done hundreds and hundreds of cases, after a while, you kind of just feel things out when you're there.
Right.
And that takes a lot away from it. And I know your partner, Zid, I spoke to him about it, and he complains, he was complaining a lot, and he's just like, I got 6 different screens, I got six different courtrooms, nobody really knows what's going on. And then, not to be an ageist, I don't know if that's a real word, but some of these older lawyers don't know how to put their phones on mute or their computer, don't know how to work it, and I had some admin court, and, I was saying how some lawyer's dog was barking in the background,
right.
and we had to yell at him, dude, put your phone on mute. He didn't know how.
Right.
So did you guys, how is the Zoom working like now that you have multiple cases still operating? How do you guys juggle all of
Yeah,
that on
so
different Zoom screens?
it was easy in the beginning because there wasn't a lot going on. But July 6th came around for Cook County. That meant all the courthouses opened back up. And it is. Each person's in their office. I'll have 4 or 5 different screens open.
Wow.
Believe it or not, the old man Zaid actually knows how to juggle more screens than me. I had to bring in old phones, so I have iPhones laid across my iMac, and it's just all set up in front of me, and I'm staggering them so I can juggle the sound. At one point, I was telling one judge, "I'm sorry, Judge, I'm in another courtroom," and I left all my sound on, so I told all the judges that I was in another courtroom. So then I got put on pause on all of them.
Oh.
So, you just have to be in tune with it. And for us, the big juggle now was getting the clients to understand, hey, here's how you log on. We have our instructions. We walk over it with them. Zaid's even done it where we've done a test run with the client to make sure that they know how to go ahead and use the technology. I had a couple of older clients that says, man, I don't know how to use the damn thing. So we tell them, listen, I'll call you. We'll get you on speakerphone. At the end of the day, the courts are understanding of the situation, circumstances, especially right now. So they're accommodating if there's some sort of effort. I've taken my computer and turned it and said, look, my client's here behind me. He's
So judges were still requiring the clients to be there?
So sometimes, yes. Now, since July 6th hit, yeah, they want more people there. They're reluctant to give warrants on people right now. I have seen it a couple times, and I'm ready to scream through the screen for the people that were allowing it to happen. It wasn't any of my clients, God bless it, but because I might get locked up if I had saw something like that happen. But yeah, no, as long as you have some sort of representation, they're okay with it. They want now people to appear via Zoom. So we're giving our clients access to the Zoom. And the problem with it is lawyers were well, we don't want to violate the court's order on them. Am I supposed to let my client log on to Zoom? Am I supposed to tell them they can't come to court? Well, when you turn on your screen and it's, all right, Mr. Yassin, where's your client? I already have my client there on Zoom ready to go, but another lawyer is looking and saying, well, Judge, I didn't know if I was supposed to or not supposed to. All right, pause, get them to log on. Well, of course you're going to be able to let your client come in because the same way they're allowed into the courtroom when it's their case, you got to let them on the virtual screen when it's their case. So, and this goes to your right to a public hearing. This goes to your right to a public trial. It's because you want to go ahead and make sure that there's no impropriety from whether it's the court or the state. It's got to be full disclosure. But it's still not fully there because at least in the beginning of this shutdown, there would be 3 YouTube channels and court was rolling for all the courts that were open would be on the YouTube feed.
Oh, really? YouTube?
So there was a Cook County shit show. I don't know how they figured it out, but they did.
Wow.
They had live stream YouTube for bond court.
Wow.
So, I remember Zaid was doing this murder bond hearing, okay? And I'm sitting down eating breakfast. My wife is sitting down, and I said, hey, pass the coffee. Look, watch this. He's about to do a bond hearing. And in a way, it's kind of cool because, obviously, we know what it's like in the business of doing things, but, our families don't get to see what we do. But having it now live streamed via YouTube, cool, it's right there for the world to see. And so, again, you see the shit show in action, but by being on YouTube, you're allowing everyone to see what's going on.
Was that meant for families because they can't go, they want to see if their son, daughter got bombed?
You have a right to a public trial, and because you're not allowing people to go in, I mean, it's either it's not feasible to go ahead and just have, because Cook County can't think of it like this, well, let's put all the Zoom codes on our website, right? Cook County courts, believe it or not, for 26th Street, they have their Zoom on there. For some of the other courthouses, but it's not all the way easily accessible, right? I'll give them credit where credit's due. They've been doing a better job of updating things as it's been going, but it's been a lot of attorneys bouncing stuff off of each other. Hey, do you know what the Zoom ID is for this? What time are we supposed to get in? It's just everybody talking to one another, right? But the purpose of the YouTube live stream is for everyone to be able to have access to the public proceeding, right? Because courts, it's funny, a lot of people don't know this. It's open to the public. Mm-hmm. Except for the juvenile courts, which are all, they want to preserve the minors', privacy. But for any criminal court, it's open for the world to come and see, right? So with this now being on Zoom, you're taking that away from people. And the purpose of this is to protect defendants' rights, to have a public trial, to be free from any sort of prejudice. The world can see, the media can see, family could see, victims could see, everybody could see.
It's transparency.
Right.
So were they doing just bond hearings on YouTube, or all cases were going on YouTube?
Emergency bond hearings, it's crazy because, again, there's more than 3 courthouses, but 26th Street bond hearings were being held on YouTube, live stream. Bridgeview's bond hearings and Markham's bond hearings. Don't ask me why the other courthouses who were hosting court didn't have a YouTube feed, but they didn't. And I remember people would say, "Well, hey, I have my case in Maywood. How am I supposed to see it?" Come over here and watch with me, right? Come over there and I'll let you watch on the computer, or I'll let you watch on the phone. In the beginning, I would have my phone in the conference room and say, "Hey, look, there's my client. Wave," right? and that's how it would be. But for whatever reason, they didn't have it. And still now that the courts have opened up, they still don't have every room on some sort of YouTube channel. It's still a select bunch of rooms.
Doesn't the chief judge oversee all of the Cook County courts? So doesn't he issue the order for all the courts, or does each court have their chief judge from that court make that decision?
So Chief Judge Evans is the one presiding over all of Cook County,
Correct.
Right? And he gives his order, but, Cook County politics, here it comes. Each presiding judge within their district run your rules. Here's the general set of rules for everyone, but each one's also going to have their own playbook they can generate, right? So Skokie was quick. They had their protocol ready to go. 26th Street, they have their protocol. Bridgeview, they have their protocol. Markham, they have theirs. So, again, we're left as the attorney fighting for our clients, and the clients don't know nothing about it because no one's telling them, right? I mean, it's hard enough to get people just to show up to court when they got court. But now you're telling them, well, this is closed, but this isn't closed, and you're not supposed to appear, but you are supposed to appear. So it puts the pressure on us to make sure we're on it for our clients.
Now, one issue that I can see coming up is, people that hire you, they generally have some money, or a lot of times their family helping out or whatnot. But those that can't hire a private attorney, I mean, if people are poor, let's say you're homeless and you don't have a phone and you don't have access to Zoom, how do courts expect people of low income who might not have access to this kind of technology? Isn't that a burden that they put on kind of low income people to make sure you show up to your Zoom? I mean, if a homeless guy's got a case, he might not have a phone to Zoom in on, even though he's got a public defender or whatever the case might be. Do you feel like it's a detriment to low income people?
Significantly. I mean, I could tell you, even for some of our clients, I have 2 tomorrow, right? We're trying to explain to them how to log on to Zoom, and one client said, I don't know, I don't have any sort of access to it. Man, I talked to on my phone. I can't download it on my phone. I don't have a computer at home. Maybe I'll just go to the library, and that's what it is. So for the people who can't afford counsel and are using a public defender, that, a lot of times we're just relying on public transportation to hopefully get to court, right? You're just relying in that situation on your public defender letting you know how to handle it and hoping they can take care of it for you, right? And I've seen it. The PDs are at work for their clients, and hey, we're going to ask for this person's appearance to be waived and things like that. So, like I said, in the beginning, like this month for sure, courts are accommodating. But I can feel it coming that once August hits, that leeway is going to be pulled out real fast.
And is that, by judge, or, we all know those that practice criminal defense or did practice criminal defense, each judge has its own intricacies, their own kind of little ways of doing things. So is that a kind of per judge thing that, okay, I'm just throwing the names out there. Judge O'Brien wants the client there, but, this judge might not care as much. Do you guys have that, or? So
the one thing the chief judge is that you did put in the order, whenever practical, don't come to court. Like they want people not to be at court. I was on Zoom court today, and the judge saying, there's people here. They're not supposed to be here. Who told you to come here? Why are you here, right? So the general consensus is for people not to be appearing. But still, some judges, and it's not 100% clear, like I was on court today where I was told this judge wants everyone to be at court, but there was a handful of people that went before me. Their lawyer was there and says, well, my client and this and that, and the judge quickly said, it's okay, we'll waive their appearance today. Anybody have a problem with that? No? Okay, let's proceed. Okay. So yeah, each judge has their own thing. A funny Zoom story, we're sitting on Zoom, and just to tell you how people don't get used to the technology, the judge was telling us a story while we were all on Zoom about how she had logged on the day before, she took over for somebody else, didn't realize the camera was rolling and the feed was going and was wiping things down. Says, I don't know what sick bastard was just here before me, so I got to make sure and clean up. And everybody in the room heard. So so I just wanted to make sure to share that story because people don't know, man.
I can't wait for the bloopers to come out. Man, someone's going to make a bloopers video of this.
A lot of lawyers are joking about how they're not wearing pants when they're doing this, man, and they'll be in their boxers or they'll be whatever. I've had people putting up pictures of what they're looking like, and I said, hey, man, that's not going to be me. I'm full suit, ready to go.
Just in case, right?
I'm not doing it. I am not doing it. The first couple times around, you would see me with my Jordan shorts from the bottom and suit on the top.
Really?
And I wasn't moving. If I got away for a second, I still remember I was doing a bond hearing, and this is when we run each person operating from home. I'm doing a bond hearing, and it's attempted murder bond hearing, and I look over and I see my daughter come into the room with a big old cup of coffee. It's bigger than her head, and I don't know how she's carrying it. And she's coming in and whispering and so happy to bring it in. And I'm like, court. My court, hold on. But, that's what we got with Zoom for now.
Wow, that's interesting. And, it's tough to balance, the court, the judges, and public health. I know there was a story. I forgot what state. It's a southern state, of course. I think it was Alabama, of course. Sorry, Alabama. But the judge was requiring everyone to come to court. I don't care who you are. You and your clients have to come. And I'm part of a lawyer group, and a few lawyers were there, and they're like, the room was jam-packed to the brim, and everyone's right next to each other. It's a public health crisis. And guess who didn't show up to court?
The judge.
The judge. And, it's funny in a sense, and we had a chuckle about it, but the lawyers were generally worried about people's health, including their own. I mean, you're married with kids, and, we go home to our families and to our, we see our clients and our staff and so on and so forth. And, I think that judge was just kind of one of the few, but it kind of just showed that sometimes these judges do have a dictatorship to them. And I think the good judges are taking public health into consideration. And I think some judges are not. And I think that's a very scary thing. It's like my justice and my public health, or my health.
Right.
And you kind of have to balance the two. And I think that gets tricky. But speaking of balance, the one very interesting thing that I think is going to come out of this, that I know you guys spoke about a lot, your partner, Zay, talks about this a lot, but the tolling of speedy trial. I know that's a big issue for criminal defense attorneys. So before we dive into that, can you just briefly give us an idea of what speedy trial means and why it's so important before we get into how this is affecting that?
So speedy trial is anybody who's charged with a crime has a right to have a trial within a certain time frame. Because what happens is you don't want to be delayed from justice, you being the person who's accused of a crime. So your right to a speedy trial, you have a U.S. Constitution, Sixth Amendment right to speedy trial, meaning that time frame has to come for you to be, have your trial. In Illinois and across the country, you have, for people who are in custody, if you're in jail and your lawyer demands trial, you have to have a trial within 120 days of your demand. Your lawyer has to demand trial on your behalf. The state has to bring forward the witnesses. If you're doing it via jury trial, everything's going to happen in one shot, right? If you're out of custody, if you're not in jail and you're on bond, it's 160 days, right? So when someone tells you, hey, man, I got a right to speedy trial, this is BS, right? So, okay, well, when we file our demand, you still, whoever, if you're in custody, if you're in jail fighting your case, there's 4 months worth of continuances the state's allowed to have before you have to, have your case dismissed because of a speedy trial violation. And if you're out and you're not in custody, it's even longer. It's more than 5 months, 160 days. So Illinois has it. In the Illinois compiled statutes, I think it's you get the speedy trial. Trust me, I'm a lawyer.
We don't need the code.
Yeah, it's in there. But like I said, it's 120 days for those that are in custody, 160 days for they're out. So the Illinois Supreme Court did something interesting at the beginning of COVID. They said, we're suspending trials. We're not attributing the delay to the state or the defense. And now this is the big deal. This kills your right as somebody who's in jail, right? The person who's out at home with his family and he's living, of course, their right matters as well. But those people are not under the same type of pressure that the guy who's in jail is, right? So just to kind of veer off slightly, it's been our position now to help try to get those guys out of jail, right? And pressure has been put on as many people as we can clear out of the jails. Let's get them out. Obviously, you still have a bond system in place, whether it's being on house arrest, and the house arrest people running out of bracelets, but that's another story, right? And a certain amount of money to be released. So they're trying to empty the jails out enough to the point of it being safe in the jail because the jail conditions are crazy already. It's overpopulated. So the pressure is on us to get our clients out. You get them out. But the guy that's still in custody, we have a few of them. Serious charges. They were ready to go to trial. So now everyone looks around and says, well, what are we supposed to do? The Illinois Supreme Court says we're not going to cause or charge the delay against the state because of this. This came from the Illinois Supreme Court, right? These are the lawmakers here, right? Well, it's going to take someone to file a demand. And the judges have been, and we've been making the arguments for the clients that have, the judge says, hey, listen, have you seen the Illinois Supreme Court order? I said, yeah, I've seen it a dozen times. We keep looking at it. But that's not going to stop us from demanding trial in a situation where we need to, right? So the way for us to fight it, and like I said, thankfully we haven't been in the position where it's frozen us completely, but you as the practitioner, as the lawyer, you have to file that demand on behalf of your client. You have to let the time run. And if it does get to that point where your 120 days is up and they're going to say, hey, we've already told you that the Illinois Supreme Court has made this ruling, right? At least you've done all on your behalf that you could. You've preserved the issue, right? Because the name of the game is CYA, cover your ass. In law terms, it's preserve the issue. You do it, you appeal it once you get to that point, right? Now, what's the problem with the appeal? Who's going to hear it? The Illinois Appellate Court, who's one step under the Illinois Supreme Court. You got to bump it up to the Supreme Court, and then if it gets all the way up to the U.S. Supremes, you never know.
Well, that's my issue because I get it. The Illinois Supreme Court issued this order, but anybody who knows anything about law, the Illinois Supreme Court is still beneath the United States Supreme Court, and we have something called the United States Constitution, right? And the reason I'm very adamant about this is because speedy trial is a bedrock principle of our Constitution, right? This is what quote unquote separates us from dictatorships and so on and so forth. We're talking about people's freedom here, right? So I deal with businesses. I get it. We have admin court and all of that. You want to continue those, be my guest. My clients probably don't care either, right? Their livelihood is not on the line per se. But when you're talking about speedy trial, I mean, you're literally talking about bedrock U.S. American principles here. We're talking about freedom. We're talking about your liberty. We're talking about things you cannot buy, you cannot, purchase. And I'm really interested to see, and I think someone will take this to the U.S. Supreme Court. I don't know if the Supremes will listen to it. I mean, I hope they grant a hearing on it or grant. I can never pronounce the word.
Certiorari.
Yes, there you go.
Don't worry. I just sounded like I knew. I just sounded like I knew how to say it.
We probably both botched it, but that's the one I was looking for. But I'm hoping the United States Supreme Court does it because, again, I can't stress this enough. This is a cornerstone principle of our country. It was built on, the government not holding you indefinitely. This is what's, again, quote unquote, separates us from all these other countries. And it went even further. They're banning jury trials right now. And I know for guys like you and Zaid and other really good criminal defense attorneys, jury trials are a big tool that, you guys use because that's another bedrock principle of our country, that you have the right of your peers to judge you based on the facts of the case and make a decision based upon hearing the facts. And jury trials are a big strategy for you guys. I know you guys do a lot of jury trials.
Most definitely.
And I'm going to say this, and you're probably too humble to say it. The good defense attorneys are not scared of jury trials because they know how to put on a jury trial. Not every lawyer knows how to put on a jury trial. And I'll go on the record and say that. So for those that know how to put on a jury trial, that's a tool that you guys definitely use because you guys have the reputation among states attorneys and judges that, okay, Abdallah Law knows how to put on a jury trial, so they're serious if they're doing a jury demand. I'm really tripped out by this because I'm shocked they basically told a speedy trial. And I know you guys have clients that were set for trial a couple months ago, right. And I know you guys said they're pretty good cases that you guys think, knock on wood, but that you guys have a really good shot of winning. So that client should have been out months ago. So, how do you deal with that?
We had, like I said, we had a couple of them, guys who are in, guys who are out, who were ready to go to trial before the COVID shutdown happened. One they just appeared for the other day, and we have his trial date set. And we reminded everyone our clock was still running, by the way. And so we have now it's a bench trial, that case. So that trial is going to be proceeding. And, one of the things I didn't cover here is this was especially chilling in the beginning when this happened. Now each county, we'll just kind of step back a little bit, each county has their own procedures, right, as far as jury trials. So DuPage is already kind of fixing it up where they have a certain jury room and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Kane County has their procedures of it. But when you read through all of it, it's still that damning statement for us, man, which is, but we're not going to punish either side if there's a delay. And so who's really getting punished? The defense
side,
the guy who's getting charged, the guy who's being accused of the crime, the guy who's rotting in jail right now, and you're not letting him out, you're not letting him go home, because if the guys are home, like I said earlier, they don't give it, I hate to say it, like, they don't give a damn. Hey, man, it's all right. I want to get justice, I want to get this over with, but you know what, at least I'm at home. The guy who's rotting in county, that's the guy who we're out there fighting for. And it's going to take, like I said, we've had demands on file, and we haven't gotten to that point of reaching that full 120. But you know how it is when law is made. All it takes is one. All it takes is one for case law to be made, for rule of law to be changed, right? And you need that one case to get to that 120-day mark. It says, I've reached the mountaintop of 120 days worth of demand, and my guy's still in, and you bastards still didn't bring a trial for us, right? And then see what happens. But like I said, it's all of that has to work out in order for us to be able to successfully argue you have officially now violated their jury trial rights. See, it's not enough to just say, well, the Illinois Supreme Court said we're not allowed to proceed, so we have to take this up to the Supreme Court. No, there has to be a ripe issue. There has to be someone who was harmed,
I see.
right?
Okay.
You can't just challenge something because, hey, this sounds offensive, right? Take it back to law school. You need to have an issue that's ripe.
Right.
You need to have something that's there in front of you that you have to address. So without having somebody get to that point of reaching the full demand period,
And
you're not going to have any change.
I told it, I'm sorry, so
Right.
on and so forth.
Right. You have to be shot down in order to go ahead and fight that issue. And so, like I said, because now I think the courts have seen the heat around the corner. The defense bar is ready to fight. So that's why from the chief judge on that says, hey, we're going to start doing hearings where it's practicable and things like that. But like I said, it's going to take that one case, that one person, for us to reach that, whether it's our case that hits first or somebody else's that comes along. We talk to a lot of criminal defense attorneys. This is what we do. So the people who are that do this for a living, that fight and litigate for a living, because like you said earlier, there's people who litigate and there's people who just, they're lawyers. We're litigators. Right. So we get to that point of fighting cases. We run into that situation where we're up against the clock. And so us and the other lawyers who are litigators, we have an eye on that for our clients. So when we do get to that point, if our case happens to be the face of it, we're ready.
But here's, I get two concerns. One, okay, let's say there is a client and a judge tells them, nope, we told the statute, therefore you don't have a speedy trial claim. Cool, you're going to take it to the Illinois Appellate Court, and then if you lose there, you'll try to take it to the Supremes, right? But the Supreme Court is the one that issued this order. Are they really going to rule against themselves?
Never.
Exactly.
Never. That's why I said you're in a very tough spot because you're asking the very people who gave the rule to overturn themselves.
Yeah.
Now, I think I'm an outstanding lawyer, but for me to go ahead and tell the people who set the rule to change the rule is going to be difficult, right? But as we often run into, that's not going to stop us from putting the fight out. We've been turned away before and come back fighting and get through. So that's what we just need the opportunity. We just need that issue to be presented and ripe for us to go ahead and take that fight up.
And the other issue is timing, right? I mean, to get to the U.S. Supreme Court, I mean, you're talking about years here.
Right.
And
a lot of times you'll see a Supreme Court case will come down yesterday, and you start reading the facts of the case. You're like, this happened in 2014. Yeah. This guy's home already, right?
Yes.
Like, this guy's home, and it's like, the guy's at home waving a flag like, rah, rah, thank you, but I still sat my ass in jail.
Right.
I was rotting in prison until it's like, thank you, it's a victory, yeah.
The only way I can see it helping is, and I agree with you, it's going to take 3 to 4 years to get to the Supremes, get them to hear it. God knows who's going to be on the bench at the Supremes by the time it gets there. New election coming up, and a lot of judges are old. There's going to be some turnaround on the Supremes, but The only way I can see it happening is if someone makes the claim for speedy trial and then they still proceed to trial and lose. Do you think if the Supremes ruled that that was unconstitutional, is there some retroactive in saying, even though you lost the trial, they still violated your rights prior to that and we're going to rescind that? Or how would that work?
So again, that go back to the CYA, the cover your ass, or the legal terms, to preserve your issue. That's why, as a practitioner, you have to preserve your issue in order that if you do get your jury trial after the designated time period that you were set for your speedy trial demand, right? So let's say you were supposed to be at that 120-day mark, and then you don't end up having your trial for another 3-4 months, okay? And you lose. Of course, part of your appeal to the appellate court and then potentially the Supreme Court and so on and so forth is you guys messed with my speedy trial rights in the very beginning when you didn't allow me to go to trial at the time frame in which I was supposed to, the time frame that the Constitution of Illinois and the United States allows me to, right? So is it something you could challenge? Absolutely. Is it going to be a successful argument?
Who knows?
Who knows, right? But, of course, we will hope to be the face of it if it does come that way. But, at the end of the day, we want justice to be served. We want the rules to be handled the right way. And most importantly, you're talking about speedy trial rights. We don't want people's rights to be violated. And that's why we do what we do ultimately.
Now, let me ask you this. And I know demanding trial is a big strategy that criminal defense lawyers use for different variations, which, we're not going to get into now. But it is also a tool for litigators to demand trial. So right now, if you wanted to play that game and you say, you know what, Judge, I demand trial, are they going to say, okay, you're going to do it over Zoom and we're going to have a trial over Zoom? Or
Hell
they just
no.
deny their trial demand?
So they have been telling us, you're aware of the Illinois Supreme Court rule.
Okay.
So there is no
So they're
demand.
falling back on a Supreme Court.
But what they are doing, because they understand the system also, they're reminding us of that. We're not backing down, and then they'll mark it for the record. Well, you're demanding for the record.
Okay.
Right? Now, what's starting to happen now is in-person hearings are being allowed, right? For motions, whether it's a motion to suppress, motion to quash, or bench trials, right? Those are starting to be scheduled. We have trials already starting next month, but not a jury trial yet, right? Those demands are still rolling, brother. Those demands are still going. So we haven't had the chance to necessarily cross that bridge of the time has come. We're at the finish line of where we need to be. But yeah, no, that we've preliminary hearings, right? Now, what's a prelim? It's just probable cause to determine whether or not somebody can be charged with a particular felony. And I swear to you, it's crazy because this is now being done via Zoom. People have tried to show up in court, attorneys. I've seen it.
Oh, so you're doing prelims on Zoom?
We're doing prelims on Zoom, and when I tell you I want to call bullshit on somebody, I want to call bullshit on somebody because when the officer's testifying, he's looking in one direction, but then when I'm asking questions, he's looking in a different direction. Well, why is that? We don't know because all we see is a screen.
So you're cross-examining the police on Zoom for a prelim hearing?
Cross-examining an officer on a computer screen.
You gotta be kidding me.
So, some state's attorneys will take the approach to, everyone understands the complications that could come with this, right? And the accusations that could come with it. So you'll see some state's attorneys will be standing behind the officer so as not to give the vibe that they're holding a cue card up and saying, hey,
that was my next question.
Here's what you're supposed to say, but that's a joke amongst us. Like, How do we know that there's not a report that's outside of the screen? How do we know that there's not a note that they're looking at, right? And that's why I even joked. I told my partner, Bassam, I'm like, look when this guy's testifying, when the state's asking him something, he's looking one way, but when we ask him something, he's looking a different direction.
But why are the state's attorney and a judge and a police allowed in the court and you're not?
So, again, the way they have it now is it's not everyone all in one room. Even for a preliminary hearing, they'll have the state's attorney, and again, it's wild, man, when you say it like that. You have a state's attorney and the officer testifying in one room, not even in the same room as a judge.
You gotta be kidding.
In a room, they're in that room. Now, of course, the mic is rolling. They're not muted, obviously, right? That's the one joy of Zoom is you can make sure that that's not happening. But like I said, you don't see what's going on. And I myself saw an attorney show up and says, well, I want to be in the same room as them. And they're like, no, that's not going to happen. Hey, but you at least preserve the issue.
What's the rationale with that? I mean, what's wrong with adding one more person in that room?
So here's the thing, man. the rooms are big enough where you can put people on different sides of the room if you need to.
They're huge.
Of course. And they have the judges way up there where the judge is, and they'll have a state's attorney in one different part of the room, and then they'll have these preliminary hearings where the witness and the officer's in a completely separate room. It's like a little box. Like, oh no, that's not going to happen because they're in a little room. Well, let's bring them over here.
Right. I don't get that.
They're supposed to be, again, at the end of the month, they're supposed to go back to the regular operation of that part of it. But yeah, man, we've had preliminary hearings that we've won and lost via Zoom.
That's insane.
And so I'm telling you, I just wanted to say, hey, I see you. Stop cheating. Stop cheating.
Gotcha.
I saw you, sucker. Show me your hands.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that I have a very big issue with because.
Oh yeah, we have a big issue with it.
Just practically speaking, what is so wrong with adding one more person in there, especially the defense attorney? Like, don't bring the client. Great. Don't bring the mom and dad that want to come and watch the hearing. Great. I get that. Leave them at home. But to sit there and tell me that the one person who's protecting you from the government, taking your liberty, is not allowed in that room is just the most ass backwards thing that I've heard. Because I know, correct me if I'm wrong, Will County's been allowing people in there for the past month or so.
Yeah,
right?
we focus a lot of our attention on Cook County. Will County's been open. Will County's been open.
Trump country. I'll say it.
Hey, Will County's been open. Hey, they've been doing it right, though. They're limiting how many people goes in the elevators. And
I talked to a lawyer who went there the other day. I said, are they doing social distancing masks? He's like, Mo, defense lawyers we cuss all the time. He's like, Mo, they didn't have a fucking mask on in that damn building. I see you serious? He's like, they didn't care.
No, you see, when I was there, and I was there a couple of times, they had people wearing masks. The judge, a couple different times, one judge was wearing a mask, and that sucker was tied. Another judge, no mask. He was back there.
Just chilling.
He was chilling.
He wants to drink his coffee.
But like I said, DuPage County, they've been open, but they're way more stringent on the social distancing. They have markings on the chairs, in the rooms. They're limiting.
DuPage has always been ahead of the game, man. At least from when I was practicing, I love DuPage.
They've made it much more clear. They've been telling people, your clients are not to come. If you want to come to court, you come to court, attorney.
I see.
If you want to work a date out with the state ahead of time, go ahead and facilitate that. But yeah, we're not, unless we order you to have your client here, they don't have to be here.
No, I got to be fair to Cook County. DuPage and Will County, if you combine them 10 times over, they still don't have the amount and space and amount of cases that
volume,
Cook County. Man. Yes, the volume in Cook County. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Cook County is the second largest county after LA County. I'm almost positive on that. And 26th in California is one of the top 3 biggest county jail courthouses in the
ridiculous.
country. And that's just 26th Street.
Right, and that's just
6 courts.
One felony courthouse.
Yes.
That the caseload is more than like the rest of the state.
Correct.
Easy. You know what I mean? So yes, you have to give some leeway in saying that feasibility because of the volume of cases makes it more difficult. But for the hearings, man. No, we don't want to do no damn Zoom hearing. I want to be there in person. I want to be able to see who I'm cross-examining. I want my witnesses to see. I want my client to see. Yeah. That's fair. At the end of the day, it's all about fairness.
Every defense attorney that does criminal defense that I've talked to said exactly what you just said. They're like, Mo, it's intuition, man. There's just a vibe. Right. Like, I cannot fight for my client over Zoom the way I would like to. There's just body language matters, just the way a cop answers. Like you said earlier, when they look a certain way or another way. Veteran, experienced litigators like yourself, you guys look for these little things, and that little thing can separate your case from a client facing 20 years in jail.
Let's take it to the very beginning. We started with your MJ fist pump story, right? Let's rewind. There's a part of that story that we didn't discuss. There was a witness, the security guard at the high school. This is an attempt murder trial, and the primary witness that points our guy out is a security guard who's got a problem with our client.
Right.
He's had a documented problem, admitted he's got a problem, and just had it in for our guy and pointed him out incorrectly. That's why the jury found him not guilty, because it was a credibility thing.
Right.
And they knew this guy just had ill will towards our guy. One of the things you want to talk about being able to witness in person is this guy stumbling and fumbling over his words,
balls.
sweating, shaking, to the point where when the guy was walking up to testify, he tripped over himself. And we brought that all up to the jury, the fact that he's stumbling, fumbling, sweating, and all the signs of a dude who's lying and not being honest, right? And you don't get that when you have this little box, right? When you see this little box of someone just sitting down. And yeah, it does take away from it, 100%. I had another case where you're calling the cop out for lying through their teeth to the point where the judge looks over and says, I had to look at her name tag to make sure she wasn't lying about that.
Wow.
Don't get that when you're not in person, you know? So
Oh, wow.
so these are the things that we don't have when we don't have in-person hearings. But, you know, Zoom for continuances, for status dates, we'll
I'm
deal
okay
with
with
that,
that.
you know? Believe me, there's still something that you prefer about being in person, but it's nice to be able to be in 6 different courthouses all at once. But you lose that, like I said, that in-person feel. But for trials and hearings and motions, absolutely not. No way. No way. No way. No thank you.
Yeah, now, when you guys go back and you guys are arguing a motion, are you going to have your face mask on as you're arguing? Or is it going to be like restaurants where when you come in and then when you're arguing, you could take it off, or they haven't even said?
It's a good question. Right now, when we're in court, for the people who have showed up, because they are allowing something, like if people didn't log on to Zoom, they would have them in person, but they would have like a designated Zoom room, right? But they'll have their mask on. And whether it was the judge, if the judge is in a courtroom, I'll give the judges credit, like in Cook County. If there's people in the room with them, they have their mask on during Zoom.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, you know, they're gonna expect people. If the distance is not as big as you want, you gotta have your mask on.
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be so tricky. I mean,
think about the court reporter who's trying to realize what everybody's saying.
Yeah.
And you got to already, you got this extra muffle of a mask, right? And so,
and it's tough enough as it is for the court reporters. I know, and a lot of them are great. I mean, I see them, and I think they're one of the most underrated people in the courthouse system in general, because they got to take down literally everything people are saying.
Right.
And so many times, I remember when I was doing it, counsel speak up or your client speak up, and so on and so forth. They're going to have to deal with that, and I think they're going to have to buy microphones now.
Oh, they're dealing with it now. They're dealing with it now on Zoom, because whether it's a bad connection or people covering their speaker with their hand, and then the masks, right? Mm-hmm. People trying to talk to the masks. It's difficult. So that challenge has been, it's there. If I have a witness up
so
there
even the
testifying,
Zoom hearings and everything, the court reporter's there?
Oh, yeah. The court reporter will be like in their room somewhere. They're in their house. They're in their kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's shacked up where they want to be, man. Oh, yeah. You'll see people with their dogs in the background eating a bag of chips. I had one guy had his cigarette right up in the screen, blowing the smoke at the camera.
It's a lawyer or a client?
I'm not going to say who, but the guy blowing, he got his cigarette. I'm watching how that sucker's burning. He got it right in front of the camera. So, man, turn your video off. Nobody want to see that.
Winston?
Yeah, people sitting down half naked and not realizing they can. I'm looking at you, man.
Wow.
You and that big old bag of chips next to you.
So that was actually going to be my next question. Like, what are some of the funny or crazy things that you've seen? People are. What I try to remind lawyers is, yes, it's Zoom, and even we've had to do some for our admin stuff, and we haven't seen clients in a while, so I would go to my office in sweatpants or shorts. It's been 90 degrees, and I remember he came in one day, and my paralegal was like, "Oh, you're dressed today." I'm like, "Yeah, I got court." She's like, "Well, it's on Zoom." I'm like, "You still have to keep a level of professionality."
Yeah, man,
you're still in court, quote unquote. I'm using air quotes. You're still in court, and I think some lawyers are being a little too loosey-goosey.
Hey, man, a lot of people are being real comfortable. I'm telling you, people are proud, loud and proud. They're on Facebook showing you, like, they'll have their spouse take a picture of them, and they'll be in their boxers at the bottom and suited up from the top.
Yeah, I mean,
someone would joke with me, and I'll stand up on purpose. Just see, no, man, I'm fully suited, head to toe. I got my suit on.
Yeah, I don't get that, man. I think you still have to keep a level of professionality. I mean,
hey, that's just like regular court. You see how some lawyers, not all lawyers know how to dress, man. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are still wearing the same suit they graduated law school with 30 years ago.
So you can never put the sense of lawyer style to play here. It'd probably be better for some people that they're in their regular clothes.
Especially, and I find it pertaining to criminal defense attorneys. Daily Center, you're going to see a better fashion statement.
You'll see some wild stuff.
Yeah, criminal.
Steve Harvey collection.
And not just that, I mean, I've seen them come in like the Air Dads, that the barbecue Nikes with a suit. I call them the Air Dad 101s. And it's just, so I think those lawyers are happy with Zoom now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It could put them up. But yeah, I appreciate you coming. I've learned a lot. I mean, I talk to you guys regularly, and I've even learned more than I knew from before. So
I'll send the bill in the mail, okay?
Yeah, lawyers always trying to bill for something, man. You see that? But let people know. Hopefully, you don't need. I always tell people this when I used to do criminal defense. Is hopefully you don't ever need me, but if they do need you, you guys are one of the elite firms. So let people know how they can get in touch with you guys. If they need any help or any questions, give us some of your information so people can reach out.
I appreciate it. It's Abdallah Law is the firm. Our website is chicago-criminal.com. Chicago-criminal.com. You can call us at 708-LAW-3, 708-529-5293. Me and Zaid head the criminal department of our firm. If you need bankruptcy needs or real estate needs, our partner Bassem could help you out as well. But our primary practice and focus is litigating and criminal defense. So you could check us out on our website, chicago-criminal.com. 708-LAW-3 is the phone number to reach us. And appreciate you having me, man.
Awesome,
you do great things over here, and I'm honored to be in the moment.
Yes, there you go. And I like that shameless plug for me at the end.
Sir.
Thank you, Shady. I appreciate it, man. We'll
Appreciate
probably
you,
definitely have you guys back on. Now it's time for my minute with Mo. And this might piss off some people, but I've done that before, so this is nothing new. But I want to talk about you quote-unquote woke folks. I'm really getting tired and annoyed by some of the new generation of woke. And this came up with the whole Washington Redskins name change. And I've seen a lot of people. Now, anybody who knows football knows Dan Snyder is basically a crappy guy. All right, we know that. And people are saying, whoa, it's too late, or he finally did this, or he did that. So what? Okay, this is what movements are about. Movements are about making people who don't want to make change. Why did he change the name? It's not because he wanted to, but because there's so much out there, so much press now, that the NFL and the entire country basically said, look, dude, the time is now. Time is to change. You need to change the name. And guess what? Within a week, not even a week, the most stubborn man in the NFL ownership tree changed the name that he, quote unquote, said before, I will never change this name. But you have these woke folks that are still mad and they're not happy and blah, blah, blah. And they'd rather have some spontaneous Facebook post than actually have real substantive change. That is substantive change if you know anything about the NFL. That was a big deal. And this movement is legit. So it might be too late according to you. It might not be to your standards. To me, the means justify the ends in this situation. So to all you quote-unquote woke folks, get off your high horse. Stop being so damn self-righteous. Movements are meant to make change that was not there from before. And if you continue this purity test for everything, we're not going to have the change. So stop living in this theoretical world that you all live in. Get off your high horses. Stop being so goddamn self-righteous. Get off Facebook, TikTok, whatever the hell it is that you guys are on. And if you want real substantive change, actually go out there, be about that life, and get off social media and actually do it. So that is my Minute with Mo. This was In the Moment. Appreciate you all listening, and we'll catch you at the next episode.